I've asked an important question. Stick to the subject.
I can't even give you a complete list of the plethora of TV shows, not even films, because that would be even more, but just TV shows that have come out in recent years attempting to get everyone to buy into the concept that reality isn't really what you think it is, and you yourself, you're not really who you think you are. And actually now they're doing a Twilight Zone reboot. So there you go.
To serve men, it's a cookbook.
But we have officially entered the phase of technology merging with reality that Elon Musk used to do a bit about every time people invited him to open his mouth in public for like 2 years.
40 years ago, we had Pong, where you had like two rectangles and a dot, like two rectangles and a dot. But now you can see a video game that's photorealistic, almost photorealistic. 40 years later, we have photorealistic 3D simulations with millions of people playing simultaneously, and it's getting better every year. And you see where things are going with virtual reality. Soon we'll have virtual reality, augmented reality. If you extrapolate into the future and say, well, how good, let's say, will video games be in 100 or 200 or 1,000 years from now? If you extrapolate that out into the future with any rate of progress at all, if you assume any improvement at all, like even 0.1% or something like that, any improvement, 1%, 0.1%, then the games will become indistinguishable from reality. Then eventually those games will be indistinguishable from reality. Beyond a certain resolution, indistinguishable from reality. Just indistinguishable. If it's so realistic, you will not be able to tell the difference between that game and the reality as we know it. Games will be indistinguishable from reality.
Some of the games that are coming out right now, if you weren't told it was a game and you just saw footage from it, you wouldn't know that it was. It's getting to that point. Musk also talks about the fact that the VR is getting to a point that when people do it and then they take the helmet off or whatever, they come out, it's like some of the more high-end stuff they got coming out right now. When they're back in actual real physical reality that they're in, they feel like the VR was more real than the actual world. That's the level that we're at with this. That video editing technology where a person can take a video of someone, of anyone, and make it say whatever they want it to in real time, that we reported on 3 years ago, has only gotten more sophisticated now.
Look how much you can distort the message by hijacking someone's face. It's really uncanny and eerie. I guess they're gonna try to give society schizophrenia, trying to figure out when they're in the real world.
And I've got a single camera here that's watching my face and feeding some machine learning software that's taking my expressions, like, I'm transferring it to that guy. He's actually a 3D character that I'm controlling live, in real time.
And has led the way to the creation of what is now called deep fakes, which really are some of the most hideous abominations imaginable, like this scarring video of Steve Buscemi merged with Hunger Games actress Jennifer Lawrence.
I just like, it was just, this was very truly surprising for me.
Just, nobody wants that. Really, they don't.
And I hope I'm never in that like situation.
And that probably won't be the last time I use the word abomination in this video.
When you go to download the software for the first time, there's a link to a Nicolas Cage face set.
So you could put Nick Cage's face on my body.
That's correct.
Could you do it like now?
Of course.
Oh my God.
The bees, not the bees. In fact, Samsung has developed an AI that only needs one image. Just one. And they can make it move and talk as if the person in the picture is alive. So for all the cool, realistic, historical reenactments you could make with such a technology, for just one example on one side of the spectrum, you also have to consider the myriad other ways this could be used to fool people into thinking someone said or did something that they never said or did, and how easy that would be. Fake. That's the word. Ersatz. As our technologies get more convincingly real, and begin impinging on the actual reality we experience through the perception of our five senses, things actually seem less real and thus more fake. And the less we can trust anything that we are seeing and hearing. A few years ago, AI began its foray into journalism, writing stories for major news outlets like the Associated Press and the Washington Post, just to name a couple. And the AI does it so well that most people can't tell the difference. So you have untold thousands of people every day reading stories written by computers, and they don't even know that they're doing it. Well, back in February, it was announced that Elon Musk's nonprofit OpenAI developed a text generator that's so good, they've declined to release it publicly for fear of misuse. So this is dubbed deepfakes for text, and it's apparently so convincingly real, and the untold risk of malicious misuse is so high, that OpenAI is actually breaking the normal practice of releasing it in order to do more research and attempt to fully discuss the ramifications of what this kind of technology will mean to a society that's increasingly living in a shrinking reality. So basically you feed this thing a few lines of text and it's able to convincingly predict and then generate the next few sentences or pages. And it works for anything, including news, novels, whatever. Fittingly, they even had it write its own version of George Orwell's 1984. And based on what I read of what it came up with, if you slapped a person's name on that and said that it was written by so-and-so, people would buy that as a novel probably, and they would just believe it. They wouldn't even realize they were reading a book written by a computer. The implications for propaganda here are just, you can't even think of all the ways that that could be gained.
How ingrained and how connected and interconnected is this technology going to be in our life?
It will be, at some point, indistinguishable from reality.
And speaking of Joe Rogan, the AI for generated speech has become much, much more advanced since the late 90s when it was first announced publicly that scientists at the Los Alamos National Lab were using clips of our military members to generate realistic sounding fake speech. So here's a computer generated clip of Rogan saying things he never actually said.
Hey Joe Rogan, it's me, Joe Rogan. Please come save me, man. These artificial intelligence guys have trapped me in a machine.
How many people do you think would be able to tell that that wasn't really him speaking at all? So there's that. But computers aren't just generating fake video, made up text, and speech that was never spoken. They're actually generating whole people now. So this website is called This Person Does Not Exist. And the AI here is called a generative adversarial network, which has apparently only been around publicly since 2014 that we know of. But their stated goal here is to synthesize artificial images that are indistinguishable from authentic images. They trained an AI by feeding it lots and lots and lots of pictures of people, and in just 2 weeks, it was able to come up with some pretty convincing pictures of human beings that they look like real people, but they don't actually exist. None of these people that you're looking at right now actually exist. None of them. And sometimes you can tell if you look real close or you pause it and stay on it for a while, but many times you can't. And I think if the average person was told that this was a real person, say on a newscast, for an example, and a whole backstory was given to something that happened to this person, they would likely accept that because, let's all say it together, we accept the reality of the world with which we're presented.
It's as simple as that.
They conclude by saying that this is groundbreaking because, quote, it not only produces high quality and realistic images, but also allows for superior control and understanding of generated images, making it even easier than before to generate believable fake images. And they've done the same thing in other areas. You have AI that's attempting to create cats, and at least the computer is failing so far at making cats, and really just makes these H.P. Lovecraftian eldritch abominations. I don't even know what half of these are, if not creatures who disregard all natural laws of the universe as we understand them, otherwise defined as grotesque mockeries of reality beyond comprehension, whose disturbing otherness cannot be encompassed in any mortal tongue. take everything back around full circle to the Samsung AI I mentioned earlier, which can take an image and make it talk, just one image. And what you have is artificial intelligence so advanced that it can now, in 2019, generate a completely fake person who does not exist and make that person talk. And most people will have no idea they're looking at someone who never existed saying things that were never really said. That's just the technology that's been publicly released that we know about. So what we're talking about here is total technological control in a way that I don't think the average person can even fully grasp the level of. The 5 sense reality can be manipulated, just straight up. And so we're gonna live in a world where seeing is not believing. And if you're somebody who relies solely on that kind of principle, you're gonna be trapped in this matrix that they've been building for decades. This is what our film, The Minds of Men, is actually about, the world we're living in today. They've built this whole structure that they've placed over the natural world, and they can bypass your senses with it. Literally. That's what it means to say a world where you can't tell the difference anymore between reality and what that is and this matrix.
It's so realistic, you will not be able to tell the difference between that game and the reality as we know it.
And it's not a coincidence at all that all the movies and TV shows that you're seeing come out right now are just right there to reinforce this idea to you that reality is not what you think it is. You aren't who you think you are. There's a hidden secret you haven't been told about everything. It's all coming together. There's a reason people refer to this as spiritual warfare.